Ladies and gents, coming to you all the way from the nice folks at Strymon, one of my favorite pedal manufacturers. It is the Ultraviolet Vintage Vibe. Awesome sounding vibe effect. Let's talk about vibe for a minute. Kind of the precursor to chorus, really. The precursor to phase. I mean, there's something sort of similarities going on with tremolo. Back in the day, there were these huge things that had photocells in them, and they were, difficult to maintain. But man, when they worked right, what a sound. Super cool. Guys like Robin Trower used them to great effect. Just such a great sound. Looking at the Strymon ad copy here, they describe it better than I probably could. Thicker and chewier than any chorus, earthier than any phaser, and uniquely magical in front of a driven amp. The perfect vibe pedal moves you to dig in and play without inhibition. I tried to do that on the song at the beginning of the video, and I loved actually just holding long notes where you can hear the vibe doing its thing. The faster you play, kind of the less you hear the effect. And if you just slow down and kind of bend a long note, and just sort of milk the vibe, it just kind of has this really awesome sound that makes you play different. It's actually an effect that'll make you play differently. I guess just like a delay will or something when you're playing into it and inspires a certain sort of playing. So they continue here, this feeling has been difficult to find outside of large and expensive fully analog boutique units, but the search for that elusive experience is now over. So they've created a whole new algorithm for this pedal. I really like the vibe that was in the Mobius. And Mobius is like at least 10 years old now, I think. And I've used it for years, and I was always quite happy with it. I think it's cool. But this one, I think, definitely kicks it up a notch and gives you sort of more things to play with. So on the pedal, you got a switch here to take you from chorus mode to vibrato mode to a blend mode. The blend mode basically gives you kind of a more subtle version of the chorus mode. It's a 70-30 blend favoring dry signal. So you're going to have a 30% of the wet effect, 70% dry, whereas in chorus mode, it's 50-50. You got 50% effect, 50% dry, and that's kind of the classic vibe sound to me. Nice to have that option of the blend if you want a little bit more of a subtle effect. And then, of course, you got the full vibrato mode, which gives you the seasick kind of pitching up and down effect. Then you got a three-way bias switch there that'll go from low to mid to high to give you distinctly different kind of sweep to the modulation. You get a speed, an intensity, and then a volume. The volume's nice because it's basically makeup gain. Sometimes on vintage vibe effects, you turn them on and it almost seems like the output drops, but with this one, you got that makeup volume there that lets you actually drive into the front end of your amp harder if you want to. You can actually boost with the pedal. You got options there in the back for stereo or mono operation via this switch right here. You've also got the ability to hook up an expression pedal there, and this is also MIDI over 1/4 inch. So more on that in a little bit because you can store presets. It's all about the sound. So I'm going to solo some of those parts from the song at the beginning of the video outside of the mix now and also play a little bit more through the pedal so you can hear the sounds. For everything I was running through a Sur SL68 amp, and I also actually used this guy for some of the sounds. This is my Chase Bliss and Benson preamp Mark II pedal. It's just an awesome sounding pedal that's basically like a preamp fuzz. So I used that. I also used an Echoplex pedal a little bit to add a little bit of delay on the parts at the beginning of the video. So you're hearing guitar into the Ultraviolet through some of that stuff into the SL68, into a cabinet mic. Okay, let's go. Let's check it out. Alright, so I just cut one of the clean parts in the track at the beginning of the video, and I figured this was a good sound to use to show you the controls just because it's, just a straight up clean tone, no fuzz or anything like that. Maybe you'll hear when I change up the controls the best with this tone. So here's the dry sound, and then I'll switch on the pedal. So this is in chorus mode, and I got all the controls on about half, the volume, the intensity, the speed. And yeah, chorus mode and using the highest bias setting. So let's check out the bias switch as the first thing we listen to here. I find it's got kind of the gooshiest, most psychedelic sound in the highest bias setting. And then when you switch the bias setting to the medium or the lowest setting, it gets kind of just a little bit less wild and phasey sounding. At least you hear the sweep as being a little more defined, and it's a little less kind of all over the place and psychedelic sounding. So I kind of like the middle setting or the highest setting for most things, actually. At least in chorus mode, which is what I would use most of the time with this pedal. More on the modes right now. The original Univibes had both chorus and vibrato. The vibrato mode is 100% wet signal, so it's all just effect. And it's where you get the most sort of pitch variation. You can get almost like a seasick kind of thing going with it in vibrato mode. Right, you can hear the pitch. Sounds like a record where the belt is a little bit speeding up and slowing down or whatever, and the record is a little bit warped sounding. It's got a little bit of that sound to it in vibrato mode. Indeed, if you look at a tuner and just play a single note, you'll see the tuner going up and down, just like this when you use vibrato mode on a vibe. So once again, let's go back to chorus mode and you'll hear the difference. So the deal with chorus mode is it's a 50-50 mix between wet and dry signal, and that was, the same on old Vibes. It was always some dry signal mixed in to the wet. Vibrato mode, 100% wet signal, and you get all that pitch variation, and that's the difference. Now on this pedal you also get a mode called blend, and the blended mode is actually a 70-30 mix favoring dry signal. So as you might expect, it's just sort of like a more subtle version of the chorus mode. So that's useful because maybe you don't want that intense of effect. You might want the intensity set at a certain place, like kind of high intensity, but it's like I wish I had that sound, but it was a little less dramatic, a little bit less whooshy or whatever. And so you can use the blend mode for those sounds. Now, as with most Vibes, what I find is when we get to the speed and intensity controls, when the speed's up real high, you might have to lower the intensity. When the intensity's up real high, you might have to lower the speed. They're kind of interactive. I'll show you what I mean. So you can see that when they're both up high, it's kind of not that usable of a sound, but lower speed, higher intensity, higher speed, either one of those works well for different things. Let's go into vibrato mode for a minute. Switch over there, and let's put the controls on about half. See what this sounds like. Okay, if I bring the speed way up right now, it's pretty subtle, but if I bring the speed way up, you're really going to hear the pitch dive. So right here, once again, I'd probably have to lower the intensity for that to be a usable sound. Let's try flipping the bias switch and see what that does to the sound. It's almost got a ticking effect, I find, in the lowest bias mode with the vibrato, and it's not a sound that I would probably use that much. So if I turn the speed up, I'll bring up the intensity a little bit. We're in low bias setting. Listen to this one more time. It's kind of, I don't know if that's that useful, but if I flip this all the way over, the bias switch, to the high bias setting, that's useful to me. So it sounds better to me. So once again, I like the middle or the highest bias settings, just for my purposes. I'll bring up the intensity and slow down the speed again. See what that sounds like. This might be good for chordal stuff. with the vibrato mode on a vibe, I'm using it for kind of a little bit more like arpeggiated stuff, and I want a pitch variation. I've got the speed up higher than that. Just truth be told, that's how I would use it most of the time for this kind of stuff. You know, that's the sound I like. Okay, let's go into the blended mode one more time. We'll play the same thing. That's a cool sound. Let's try the chorus mode with the same part. Pretty nice. So I just got the main lead in the song at the beginning. I had so much fun doing that. It just sounds so cool. I've got it in kind of the chewiest sound I can get, which is the full chorus setting with the high bias, pretty high intensity. It's just so fun to not play fast and to just bend a note and hold it with the note, all this gooey stuff going on. You know, I just love it. And I sped it up when I did those bends, those long bends. I just love it. It's so much fun. And of course, you could do that with an expression pedal if you want to, because it's actually got expression pedal capability. I haven't hooked that up, but if you want to control the speed or anything via expression, you can do that. Other stuff that I haven't talked about yet, MIDI. So like all these little Strymon pedals, fully like MIDI, so you can store up to 300 presets. It's kind of amazing, all different speed settings and volume settings, whatever you want, you know. It's just going to be the most versatile vibe ever made with 300, you know, possible presets. It's also got stereo out. I haven't tried that. I wanted to use it just like a traditional vibe and not do the stereo imaging thing. But it sounds so darn good. It's really fun to play. I really like it. Thanks so much for watching my video on the Ultraviolet from the nice folks at Strymon. Just a great sounding new vibe algorithm effect. They've done a great job with this one. It's basically all the vibe that you could possibly want in a small compact pedal that also is super powerful, allows you to store 300 presets. I love what they're doing. I mean, when you think about it, they've got this great form factor in these new pedals they're making, but yet with sort of supreme power as far as programmability, you could essentially assemble a really, really small pedal board that's, you know, if you want, full stereo and full MIDI. You know, just add a switch of your choice or something, and the tones and, you know, the sounds and presets and stuff is pretty much unlimited. So good job, Strymon. You can check it out further at the link down there in the video description below. Click down there, it'll take you to more info. Please hit subscribe if you haven't. Hit the little bell beside the subscribe so you get an alert when I put out new videos. I'll see you real soon for more guitar-related stuff on YouTube. I am Pete Thorne. Take care.